Hi, and welcome to this brief video discussing the employee data screen in the HR Data Manager. There's a video that discusses adding a new employee record, but this video is going to cover in general the employee data screen from the point of view of viewing and editing data. From the home screen of the HR Data Manager, you can access the screen by clicking on Employee Data. In the trial edition, you'll get a message letting you know that this record for Anna Lee Austin contains additional data that some of the other records don't contain that may give you a better idea during the trial of how certain screens look. I'm going to say OK. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and pull up that record, Anna Lee Austin. So as you can see, I've got tabs of information here across the top, and I can select an employee by finding their name in the list. If I click in the list, the drop down, and start typing a letter, it'll automatically go and try to find that employee for me. So I'm going to go back to Anna Lee Austin. So the first tab, the General tab, has demographic information, service history, comments, and photo optionally here. The employee number is an optional field. The system creates its own number to track the employee, but if you have an internal number that's meaningful, it can be tracked here. And then you've got first name, middle name, last name. The system masks the social security number so that in offices where you have people leaning over your shoulder and such while you're looking up information, you can hide that information. And if I double click in there, it'll show me the digits. And if I double click again, it puts it back to masked view. We've got date of birth, and it shows the age for that person. Type of employee, and in your case you may have just one type, but if you had other types, contractors, volunteers, as such, you'd be able to track them there. Other typical information, the gender, ethnicity, marital status, veteran status, driver class, FLSA status, whether or not they're full or part-time. Accounting code is something that can be used. It's your discretion to, often it's used to tie information to another system, like a payroll system. Workman's comp, citizenship, EEO category, which can also be defined through the job. Benefit eligibility date, employee status, and you may or may not need it, but it has the ability to define company, division, and location. Service history is any past occurrences where the employee has worked for you. So that if they had worked for a period of time, then left, and then returned to your employment, you can see that history, and it'll show you for each instance of their work, their years, months, days, and then a total of what their years of service is. We have I-9 information available, and you can track documents and their expiration dates. Disability information in case you've got staff members that you need to work through the reasonable accommodation process with for the Americans with Disabilities Act. Union information. And at a glance, we'll show you the department information, which is related to the position on the position tab. But it shows it here for you, their position and salary. And the salary visibility, if that's something you want to hide, again, if you've got people looking over your shoulder sometimes, things like that. Preferences, this can be turned off so you don't have to see it in this screen. So I'm going to move on to the position and compensation tab. It shows us up top that we're still looking at the record for Anna Lee Austin. And we have a history here of Anna Lee's employment. So she started off as a manager of information systems, and we've got an effective date and an end date, and she currently is the director of information technology. Compensation allows us to define separately what her compensation is, the frequency, and change code if you desire, so you can say whether or not it was new hire, job change, cost of living, that sort of thing. And then we have additional tabs to track things like bank information, tax information, allowances and withholding, payroll deductions, bonus information, loan information, which really allows you to do loans and grants, court orders, and cards refers to pay cards or credit cards that have been issued. And in a credit card, you may just put the number and a date. And if it's a pay card with a set amount, you can enter that in here. So I'm going to move on here. We've got the contact information for that employee, their mailing and physical address, phone numbers, email addresses. And then we have emergency contacts, where we can enter also the emergency contact's name, relationship, phone numbers, and if needed you can enter address information. And down here, if you notice where it says current record 1 of 1, and I hover over the asterisk there, it says new or blank record. That allows us to add additional emergency contacts. Training and education allows us to track training, which this ties to the training piece within the system, for which there will be a separate video. But the training is set up based on course events and dates, showing that they've taken certain courses. So you can define, in this case, Annalee has taken Microsoft Access Level 1, 2, and 3 on these dates. Well, actually, no. I'm sorry. In this role, she was an instructor. What the status is. The role allows you to say whether or not the person was a student, an instructor, an evaluator. And the purpose of that is you can add to this list so that if your training is expanded in a way that you have other roles, you can define that here. You can also define the status, any fees associated with it, scores, and then certifications and licenses allows you to define those along with expiration dates and whether or not a license has been suspended. Education, degrees earned and such. And skills, which ties back in with applicant information and job information. Equipment allows you to track any equipment that's been issued to that employee that you want to keep track of and potentially get back at the end of the employment. In this case, it shows that Annalee's been issued a laptop, gives the equipment number, the issue date, the value and current status, as well as who approved that. Evaluation information. So we can track a status history for a particular evaluation, what type of evaluation it was, annual, disciplinary, probationary. You can add and change that list as needed for your organization. The date of the evaluation, the next evaluation due date, and what the overall result was. In this case, the list has satisfactory or unsatisfactory, but that can be modified. And who the primary evaluator is. And if you look down here, evaluation 1 of 1, again, it gives me the ability to add additional evaluations, so I have a history over time. Leave and attendance allows me to track any leave instances, start dates, end dates, how many days were involved, hours involved, cost. It'll try to calculate the cost based on the employee's compensation information set up in the other tab. Employee leave balances can be tracked here. And if needed, depending on your organization's leave policies, this can be customized to work with the rules employed by your organization for leave accruals. Benefit information allows you to track benefits, who the provider is, the plans, employee and employer premiums, who the dependents are, and you can add to this as needed. Again, this is one of the areas that's often customized to add additional fields depending on your organization and what needs to be tracked. Incidents allows you to track accidents in the workplace, illness or injuries that relate to or can relate to OSHA or workers' comp claims. Discipline issues, you can define types of offense. You can create this list as needed with the items you need to track. Type of offense as well as discipline type. And any grievances that may have been filed or brought by the employee. Reminders allow you to track through the system the due date for specific things and have it pop up when those things are close to being due when you go into that employee record. Employee awards. Employee groups is nothing more than a way to tie employees into a common group. So an example might be if you have a committee that's going to look at your corporate website and certain employees are going to participate in that committee, you could create a group called Website Committee and then track who the members of that group are here. Employee notes is an ongoing thing where you can track historic notes and commentary relating to that employee and who it was entered by. Documents, you can tie different things to the employee. Let's say documents such as resumes, things like that. Anything you might want to attach to that employee record. It doesn't physically store it in the database, but it links to where it's stored on your network so that it can easily be accessed from this location. User defined is just that. It basically allows you to create a description, any number of descriptions, and then track them in these fields here. It's pretty much just sort of a generic way to track anything else that you want to track. Another option is to customize the database, which you can either do or we can do, depending on what edition of the software you get. And it can be customized to work exactly for what you need, but depending on the simplicity of what you need, user information can be entered here. And the unemployment screen allows you to basically track if an employee has been laid off or terminated. You can say the date filed, the status, and outcome if you have any disputes relating to unemployment. So I'm going to go ahead and click back over on the general screen. And so this was just basically a quick overview to go through the different tabs and what the data is for on the employee data screen. We'll have other videos showing how to do different tasks and actions related to the employee. But hopefully you enjoyed this video, and thank you for your time.